So the issue that I'm having with my code is that it compiles, but it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. For example, if I compile it, a lot of this code is just debugging stuff um, that wouldn't normally be printed. I have it printed out to help me solve the thing. Typically, the first thing that would print out would be this introductory message, just indicating that you're playing an Alice in Land text-based adventure game, and then there'd be a do-while loop that runs again. It wouldn't be displayed, and you can do things like go north. It'll ask if you want to hear a riddle. I can say yes. How far down is the center of the Earth? I don't know, 4,000 miles or something. And congratulations, you're correct. I'll go back south. Back in somewhere else. Back in the riverbank. Again, normally you wouldn't have all this text here. And then I can go east. Do I want to hear a riddle? No. And then I can look around. I see that there is a jar, like in the rabbit hole area. Locations and item, there is a jar. Normally I'd like to be able to take the jar, but then here's where the issue lies. It constantly tells me there is no jar here. So, and I've got all this, these printouts, some debugging stuff to kind of let me know what's happened. But basically, it seems like the major problem is happening in my main Alice in Wonderland text-based adventure game code. On this line right here, on line 96, where I basically use the current location of the player to access to call the getGames object, getGameObjects method, which returns a game object list, which is user defined class like an inventory, and then I call the thisGameObject method on it that takes in an item name and basically looks for that particular to see if that item is in this location. And then this was returning at one point a game object pointer, which I was then trying to dynamically cast into an item pointer with a variable name item. And then the problem is that this line of code is always executing, basically checking if item equals null pointer, because this always returns a null pointer. And therefore then it says the item's not available, even though I know the item is available. Like when we did a look, it showed there in the inventory. So the part of the problem is here in not game object. Let me just look in game object list, I believe. So this game object, this method here is the this game object method, and this is where that problem is happening. So again, in the Alice in Wonderland text-based adventure game implementation, this is the line that's causing the problem, but it's calling this method, which seems to be the problem. And that is in the game object list class right here. And the code seems to work up until this point fine, and then it's iterating through, it's dereferencing this, so dereferencing the object that this is being called upon, which again, current location is a pointer to a location object. Then I access the getGameObject list, which returns a pointer to a game object list, and then I'm accessing the thisGameObject method on that pointer to a game object list, which a game object list is just a vector of type game objects under the hood. So that's what's ultimately calling this method. So this, when I call this method, the this in this method is referring to a pointer to a game object list. Where am I? Yeah, so this is referring to a pointer to a game object list. So when I dereference it, I'm actually getting the game object list, and then I'm using this range-based for loop to iterate through the loop, pulling out an object at a time, pulling out an object by reference. So I'm actually grabbing the game object, as indicated by the IntelliJ hint here, or the CLion hint here. I'm just using the auto keyword to do it, but it's a game object reference, and everything works up until like I get in this code here where I compare the trimmed game object, that's just to take away the white space. I compare the basically object name of the object that I'm finding in the list to the name I passed in as an argument to this function, and I get in here, but then this is the offending line of code 48 in the game object list, because I'm trying to return the address of the object. So again, I'm getting a reference to the game object, and then I'm assigning the address of that object to game object, which is a pointer, a game object pointer, and it's just the code's just not working. I'm kind of at a loss for now. I'm trying to figure it out of how to solve it. I was basically at this exact same spot last night at 10, and I've got no further. I spent all day basically changing a bunch of things. I was originally had kind of like my location objects were all just copies. So I changed those 2 pointers so that I'm actually accessing the actual same location object across different characters and different things. And I've changed that and got that all working now, because obviously those little changes propagated throughout the whole code, because like everything has a location, a character has a location, the map has locations, and so I had to change a lot of the signatures of a lot of the methods and different things. But that's all working now, well, as far as I can see, but I still have this issue where I just can't take an object. It just keeps telling me it's not there. So again, if I say take again, like if I look around, there's when I call the look method, it actually threw an error for some reason too. But before that, I call look, so it threw an error. I'm not even sure why that is, but typically the look had worked before, and it showed that there is a jar there, but I just can't get it. And again, the method is failing. Look, I got to the point of intake item method, and then I'm in the game objects get game objects method. So I'm in the get game objects method, and that's where it failed. So get game objects is in the, I want to say, the container class. Get game objects right here. So this is where I failed. So I printed out get game objects, and type item just shows here the parent method, the method that called this method. And I get there, but then I never get to this point. I never printed this one. So basically, I guess this is the line of code that obviously failed at this time, because I have an error before I get here and print out this debug message. So I should have printed out game objects and then game objects, which again is a vector. Game objects refers to right here. It's a game object list, and then I'm calling the get describe game objects on that, so it should just print them out essentially. And I never got here, so this causes an issue as well. So there's just a lot of issues. I'm not sure if fixing this solution or helping me with this would be better done over a phone call where I can show you the code live, or I can screenshot things at the same time. But that's kind of where I'm at. I'm having a lot of difficulty getting this code fully up and running, and I've got my test scheduled for the 27th because my course is over at the end of February. So I'm just hoping you're able to help me. It's some sort of simple thing. So I'll send you the code. I can send you both the code before I changed everything to pointers and after, but the error seems to be the same, so I don't know if it really matters. But I'll send that, and if you have any questions, I think a phone call probably would work best if we could talk, but I'm available. I'll make myself available anytime between today and tomorrow at midnight, because unfortunately I do have my test in the morning at 8:30 on the 27th. I tried to change it to the 28th, the last day of the course, but I tried doing that a few days ago and it wouldn't let me on ProctorU. So I do have a very tight deadline here, but hopefully you'll be able to help me, and it's a quick solve, and then I can get the rest of this code working. So yeah, give me a call if you need any help, or if you need me to walk through some of the code, because I understand there's a lot of it. and hopefully you can help me sort out my issue.